So this week we're going to be discussing that, talking about the so touching on the idea of the building of the sanctuary of the Mishkan tabernacle, and generally that idea and how that connects to Shabbat and how that connects to us nowadays. That's the general overview. And no big spoilers. All right. You like some wine? Right. We live in an age of where we have a hard time with it's called delayed gratification, right? There's that famous study from Stanford, I think it was like in the 70s or something, with the marshmallow experiment, where they put marshmallows in front of kids, and the kids that said if you wait 15 minutes, you'll get 2 marshmallows. If you only wait, if you have it right now, you won't get the second one. It says the kids that waited longer, they tracked through life, ended up doing better in school, ended up doing better in general in life because they were able to have delayed gratification. Right. So nowadays it's even harder. Where like you could get a dopamine, like if you're watching videos, and probably none of us here have TikTok, but like something like short videos where you just like you scroll through, or any video or anything like that, or your entertainment, you could just get at your fingertips and just get that quick rush just to like of that entertainment. Or it's harder to even have to like even sit on something for longer. So it's hard for us to do that. It's even harder for us to do that. So like so we have to work on ourselves to invest in things to see the fruits about that. Same thing with mitzvot, right? Where we know what the right thing is. We gotta do the effort to get to that point. So we're gonna learn practically a little bit how to do this and what's that about in this week's Torah portion. All right, that's going to be, we'll start in text number 1, right at the beginning of our Parsha. As Phil said, Moshe gathers all the Jews together and starts getting donations. He's the first rabbi soliciting donations, making the appeal. And it was right around the high holidays, actually, because God told us to build the Mishkan basically right after Yom Kippur. God told Moshe that we were forgiven basically right after Yom Kippur, and had to basically for the golden calf. Moshe came down from the mountain the second time and told us basically the way that we're going to get our atonement is through building a sanctuary for God. Right? So Moshe gets up, how he's supposed to build anything, makes an appeal to the Jewish people, and everything starts flowing in, and he says what we need, this, and that, and that's what we're about to read in text number 1. Marilyn, first.
Moses called the whole community. Moses called the whole community of the children of Israel to assemble, and he said to them,
150.
150.
Yeah. You're right. You're on the right page.
Yeah. Okay. These are the things that God commanded to make. 6 days' work may be done, but on the 7th day you shall have sanctity, a day of complete rest to God. Whoever performs work on this day shall be put to death. You shall not kindle fire in any of your dwelling places on the Sabbath day. Take from yourselves an offering for God. Every generous-hearted person shall bring it, namely God's offering, gold, silver, and copper.
All right, so after talking about Shabbat, we're all familiar with, and saying what you can't do, and then goes into seemingly unrelated, goes swinging straight into the tabernacle, like talking about how we're supposed to build the Mishkan. So from the beginning, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, which in the Mishkan literally means a tent, and the tabernacle is the Latin word for tent, so that's where that comes from, was temporary, right? It was made out of, it was supposed to be movable, supposed to be a temporary thing. Everything in it, all the outer structure was built to be moved. So the outer walls were basically individual pillars that had like bolts, I guess, long beams going through it to connect them together, and sockets on top.
Like the sukkah.
Yeah.
Today, some of the modern sukkahs.
Something like that, yeah. But it was supposed to be a temporary thing, and it was covered. It wasn't covered by a roof. It was covered by fabrics of
Still
various
skins?
kinds. Yes, skins, fabrics, but nothing. Not a permanent roof. Right? It didn't have any permanent things. It was supposed to be temporary, and still they put in so much. It's like it says the Jews brought so much that Moshe told them to stop. I guess first time that a rabbi said, "Stop bringing money." Right? Literally told the Jews, "I have enough. We have enough. We have enough." So much so that the leaders of all the tribes, who were the wealthiest actually in each tribe, they didn't bring anything right away because they figured, there's going to be everyone's going to bring, and then there's going to be a lot. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, there wasn't anything needed except for they brought the stones for the Kohen Gadol's ephod for his breastplate, and the wagons to transport everything. But all the gold and silver was basically still wonderful. Still wonderful.
I wanted to get a compliment.
Yeah. So then that the Mishkan existed for the tabernacle existed for about 480 years. It went from basically a year after the Jews came into the desert, a little bit right about a little less than a year actually. About a year, because it was dedicated right before the holiday of Passover, so about a year, and then that 40 years in the desert, and then existed in Israel in various locations, in Shiloh, and then various other locations in Israel, until the King David conquered Jerusalem, and his son Solomon, King Shlomo, built the first temple.
Yeah, but it was in Jerusalem.
It was in Jerusalem, is right where our cousins built their own option over there. But it's called the Temple Mount for a reason. That's where the temple was. And the western wall was the wall that wasn't actually one of the walls of the temple itself. It was a surrounding wall around the temple, where basically was like the point where you could go. We go till here, and unless you're pure, unless you're ready to go into the temple to serve God, don't go past this point. But it's the only remaining thing that we have from any of the structure of the temple.
The Wailing Wall, that wasn't part of the.
It wasn't a part of the physical temple structure.
Did any of the physical temple actually?
No, it was destroyed. Either first one was destroyed by the Babylonians, second one by the Romans. They burned it down.
It was rebuilt. It was rebuilt, and then the Romans. Yeah.
We'll get to that actually. The Aron, the ark, was put underground, but the tabernacle was basically I'm not sure. I don't know if it says exactly what happened to the actual tabernacle. But then we basically went from there. It was all meant to be temporary, and then even once we built the temples, they lasted even a shorter time than the Mishkan, than the tabernacle. Each one lasted about 450, somewhere around there, give or take. Each one lasted a little, somewhere basically around that time. And then each one was destroyed.
Maybe we have our jewels in the breastplate in Rome.
It could be.
They say they're willing to open up their stores so the Jews can see
what's left in there,
and we'll see if they're going to give us anything.
I would doubt that there's anything.
Doubt.
No, just practically. Also, even if they were there at some point, which I'm sure at some point there was stuff from the temple that ended up. I mean, there's the Arch of Titus has them bringing things from the temple to Rome, but Rome was sacked twice after that. It was totally like burned to the ground twice after that time. The Spartans and the Visigoths, basically. That was after
that's where we have to look for.
I'm saying that was after, and that was after the temple was destroyed. So I don't think that there'd be any precious things left. In my opinion, they definitely have a lot of Jewish, a lot of like Torah books in there, like a lot of holy books in there, because they just collected manuscripts from whatever thousands of years. But that they have, and that they've actually let people start seeing already. But I don't think there's anything left from the temple currently. That would be my personal. That'd be my personal opinion, but it could be there is. But
I think it's pretty common.
I think that Rome was sacked a bunch of times from some really good armies from Germany.
Yeah, I'm saying basically, I don't think there was
real good armies.
at the end where the Roman Empire basically fell apart. It wasn't really. I don't know if they'd be holding on to golden things anymore, and not melting them down or anything, or like disappeared. But actually, after the first temple was destroyed, it says some of that King Ahasuerus, are coming up on Purim. One of the things he came out with during the party, he
That's
came
his
out wearing
husband.
the full garb of the high priest. Basically, he came dressed as that.
How did he get that?
It was his wife's grandfather, who's Nebuchadnezzar, basically had sacked the temple. So they had, and some of the vessels that they used at the party were the vessels from the
Oh,
temple.
Vashti.
Yeah.
Not
So
Esther.
not Esther's, no. But I'm saying that was then, but I don't think currently that there's anything left. But yeah, but then we have two temples we had one temple, and then we went into exile for 7 years, had the story of Purim, went back, rebuilt their second temple, about another 450 around, a little under that. And then that was destroyed again. All right, so and we don't have anything at the really left end of the day. And they put so much work into into the tabernacle. They put so much work into the temple. They made it beautiful. Actually, the second temple to Herod, who was not actually the best guy, but he actually spent a lot of money on the temple. He put in a floor that made it look like waves. It was like they spent a lot of money on this temple.
Not intending it should remain as a temple.
No, he did it for the temple itself. He spent a lot of money on it to beautify the Jewish temple, our Beit HaMikdash. Yeah, he was Jewish. He was the whatever he wasn't. Shouldn't have been king. Herod, not the Romans. But we
spent a lot of money everywhere, like Masada.
Yeah. So one of the things he spent a lot of money on was beautifying the temple. Question is now, at the end of the day, we don't have our temples anymore. We don't have the Mishkan. Was it worth all that money? Was it worth all that work? Right? It was worth putting in tons and so much into it, but we don't even have it lasting nowadays. Was there? It was. They had it for. Yeah, but is there a tangible thing that we still have, like that there's left over? Maybe we could have still had the temple, maybe, but like we didn't have to spend as much money. It could have been a building that we serve God in, and like thing. But is it necessary to have spent all that money, or not? Basically.
Well, if God commanded
the opinion that what?
If God commanded us to,
yeah. So question is, was it a worth it commandment? Maybe, which I'm sure it is, but we'll get to that for sure. So we're actually getting to that. It actually says that Solomon knew that it would be destroyed, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that question soon. All right, that's good. We'll go to
Sure.
So we will have our third temple, and it will be permanent.
Are you reading?
No.
Is
It's in the prophets that we're gonna have our third temple we're gonna have all the Jews come back together. Maybe, and we're going to rebuild. That's when we know Mashiach comes. When we rebuild our temple in Jerusalem.
Maybe all that ammunition they have stored in the mosque will just ignite. One of Hamas will throw a rocket, and it will land right on top of that mosque. Boom!
They actually shot a couple rockets over Jerusalem. I'm not sure what they were thinking so much, but
yeah,
they generally don't. But they did this past time.
They don't want to miss and hit the mosque, but they will.
All right. So during this class, we'll discuss what was the point of the Beit HaMikdash what does lasting affect nowadays, right? So start in text number 2.
Okay. And God's glory shall be revealed, and all flesh together shall see that the mouth of God spoke.
Right, and so this is not just a little like fun fact about the future that Isaiah is telling us, but it's the defining thing about the temple period, about the Messianic period when Mashiach comes, that godness will be revealed everywhere, and it's such a essential thing that we even talk about it on Rosh Hashanah. It's in text number 3. We talk about it in the Amidah. It's text 3. Martin.
Reign over the entire world in your glory. Be exalted over all the earth in your splendor, and reveal yourself in the majesty of your glorious might all over the inhabitants of your terrestrial world.
Right, so when we're praying for God's glory to be over the whole world, it's not hyperbole. We literally mean it where everyone is going to recognize God. Like the entire world, every person will recognize that God is the one, and they're not going to want to basically go against anything that God meant, right? That's the future times. And the Mittel Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe, elaborates on this a little bit more. Chaya, if you want to read text number 4 for us.
Is that Chaya Halpern?
Yeah. Chaya,
Oh,
you're on mute.
hi, Chaya. You're on mute. You're muted.
Chaya, you're on mute.
Oh,
Oh, I would love to read, but I don't have the text.
You don't have the text. Okay, so let's
I'm
continue.
I'm sorry. I would have.
hi, Chaya.
Hi, Leonardo. Good to see you.
All right, Phil, you could read text number 4 for us.
The prayer states that all flesh will see the divine presence, for even animals will recognize their creator. The prayer continues, and every created being will perceive. For there will be a heightened awareness of godliness in the world, as there was prior to the sin of the tree of knowledge.
And this all sounds great and amazing. This is what we want, but where's suddenly this great revelation going to come from? Like, how is this suddenly going to transfer? How is this transformation going to happen? Or it's not going to come out of nowhere. It's going to come from all from over all of our history of doing all these mitzvot. That's going to be, and then that's culmination of that is going to be the divine revelation in the times of Mashiach, right? Through all of our work that we're doing today. As the Alter Rebbe explains, as the first Chabad Rebbe explains in text number 5 in Tanya.
Is it Ron? Oh, no, who's
No.
that, Phil?
No, it's for you.
Me?
Yeah.
Now this ultimate perfection of the Messianic era and the time of resurrection of the dead, meaning the revelation of God's infinite energy in this physical world, is hinged upon our actions and divine service throughout the period of exile. For it is the mitzvah itself that causes its reward. By performing the mitzvah, one draws down godly energy from above.
All right, so every mitzvah we do now has this immense, powerful energy. We might not see it now. I don't think any of us really see it now. The divine energy that we're bringing down. But in the future, when Mashiach comes, all this energy together will come together. So
You can feel it.
you can feel something. Yeah, we feel something when we do a mitzvah. You feel like, but we don't see the full power of the mitzvah. That's what I'm saying.
In your mom's class, we're reading the book Positivity Bias, and in the book, I don't know if it was the Rebbe, but the author states that the Rebbe believed that by being happy and and joyous, that in the upper worlds, our happiness was projected projected up there, and that they mirrored it and bring it down to us.
It says, "Kamayim Opam Opam." The way the face that we show God is the face that He shows us. So if we show Him a happy face, He'll show us a happy face too. Yeah. Right. So, but still, even with that, even if we feel like when we feel something when we do a mitzvah, you feel that spiritual connection. There's still so much more that we don't tap into, and there's still this great energy that we're going to get when Mashiach comes. But just telling us that we're going to feel this all that only Mashiach, we're going to feel it all when Mashiach comes. It's a little too, it's not necessarily motivating. It's a little bit abstract, right? In the future, when it's worth it, when Mashiach comes, you'll see. When the Messiah comes, you'll see, and it's going to be great and dandy. You'll see all of your hard work now. So, but what does that help us today? How does this help us today in what we're doing? Right. So the answer is in Kohelet, written by King Solomon. That's in text number 6.
Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come and years arrive, about which you will say, I have no desire in them.
All right. So on a literal level, right, it says that the verses of the Torah never leave their actual simple meaning. Right. That's always the general meaning of it, in addition to deeper meanings. It literally means that when we're younger, it's easier to mold ourselves into what we want to be. So to get into habits, if to doing good things, to doing mitzvot, right? It's always easier in our youth. When we get older, it's harder and harder to build up that habit. But
Hard to do everything.
yeah, it's hard to do everything. So take advantage of King Solomon's saying, take advantage of your youth and do it then. But
Right.
that's why we have the deeper spiritual level. These sages explain it's not just about that our physical youth and physical youth that it's talking about. It's talking about the present era versus the era of the Messianic age of Mashiach, right? It's also what it's talking about. That's in text 7, Martin.
Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, perform mitzvot while you still find opportunities and you have the financial means and you are still under your own control, as King Solomon in his wisdom said, and remember your creator in the days of your youth before the difficult days come. This refers to old age and years arrive about which you will say, I have no desire in them. This refers to the Messianic era in which there will be neither merit nor liability.
Right, and so the sages in the Talmud explain what does it mean. What does it mean about when you say that what the verse talking about present day versus the time of the Mashiach, right? And you're going to say I have no desire in them. Now, Talmud, as we know, is not it's not just a book to read, right? The whole thing is about questions and answers, right? So seemingly we have a basic, easy question here. Suddenly you say you don't desire Mashiach. Every day, at 3 times a day, we pray in the Amida. We pray for Mashiach. We say it before we start off the full morning prayers. We say right, that our temple should be rebuilt, right? Then we try to do things. Our whole thing is we want to bring Mashiach, right, to end this exile. So what does it mean you have no desire in them,
You
right?
also go out and bring Jews into your, non-practicing Jews. You bring them into your home and teach them how to practice.
Yeah, but still, but why? Well, what are they saying? There's no desire.
Yeah, because the perfection is already there. There's no need for desire.
There's no need for what you're saying, but
During
there's not the desire in the times. That's true.
There's nothing. Everything's perfect. So
you must have read this class.
He's right.
It's a general idea, right? So and then the Talmud ends off with that it will be a time where there's neither merit or liability. So what does all this mean basically? That we're not going to desire for it. There's no merit nor liability. What does all this mean? All right. So when Mashiach comes, all evil is going to be eradicated from the world. We're not going to have destructive impulses. We're not going to have unhealthy inclinations. It won't be in us or anywhere in the world, as the prophet Zechariah says. That's in text 8.
Text 11?
8. Page 154.
I will remove the spirit of impurity from the land.
It's a very famous verse. It's Ruach HaTamah Avram and Aris, that the spirit of impurity will remove from the land. Right, so when Mashiach comes, it's going to be a utopia where it'll be easy to do the right thing because we're not going to have that we're not going to want to do the wrong thing, right? Because the impurity that makes us want to do the wrong thing is going to be gone, right? It's only going to be goodness, right? So we're not going to have challenges or anything to serve God because we're all going to want to do the right thing. So when saying that there's that time,
and we can't honor anyone more than anyone else with merit because everyone is meritorious.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be meritorious. So what's the desire that I was talking about? There's no more desire. I'm talking about a physical desire, right? That time we're not gonna have any more physical based desires. We're only gonna want to do the right thing. So there's various opinions about what's going to be when Mashiach comes. Is it going to be many opinions are own Kamahagonoig? It's going to be the world's going to still go on like it does every day. So we're still going to eat and drink, but the only purpose is going to be in order to have the purpose that we're supposed to eat and drink for is in order to want to serve God and do the right thing. So then we're not even going to have the inclination to want to eat and drink for anything else. We're not just going to want to sit down to our big steak dinner because we desire the steak dinner. We want to eat something to give us energy, right? In order to serve God. So we'll still eat and drink, most likely. Yeah, I mean it's the physical world that day. We're not going to be angels, right? Mashiach's going to come into the physical world. So then in text 9, Nachmanides explains a little more.
From the time of creation, every person has possessed the power to do as they please, to be righteous or wicked. This grant of free will applies likewise to the entire Torah period, so that people can gain merit upon choosing good and punishment for choosing evil. But in the Messianic era, the choice of the genuine good will be natural. The heart will not desire the improper, and it will have no craving whatsoever for it. This is reflected in the teaching on the verse, and years arrive about which you will say, I have no desire in them, which our sages explain refers to the Messianic era, when there will be neither merit nor reliability. For in the Messianic era, there will be no evil desire in humanity. Rather, every person will naturally perform the proper deeds. Thus, there will be neither merit nor liability in them, for merit and liability are dependent upon desire.
Right. So, General, do you feel accomplished when when you're doing something basic? When you take a breath every day, when you take a breath every few seconds, is that like a big accomplishment that we all feel? When you drink a couple of waters, it's not. These aren't big accomplishments. This is basic things we do. It's like easy basic thing, right? It's our natural thing that we want to do. Similarly, when Mashiach comes, all the mitzvot that we do and everything we do, it's just going to be our natural tendency, right? We're not going to have to fight against anything. It's going to be doing a mitzvah is going to be like taking a breath. It's going to be so natural, and so that's what we do. That's going to happen when Mashiach comes.
I really want Mashiach to come.
We all, yeah.
I do.
Not to try to get my system to the full, have Mashiach happen. You're now just doing it naturally. You're doing mitzvahs without a purpose of trying to bring Mashiach in.
Yeah, so we're not seeking the benefit of the mitzvah. It's just that God wants us to do the mitzvah, and we only see good, and we have to do what the good is, and that's our natural thing, right? We want to do good for us, which we know is taking a breath. And when Mashiach comes, we're going to see the revealed good of doing a mitzvah too. So we can be like, okay, I'm going to do that too, right? Because that's what's good for me. All right, exercise is good for me. This is good for me. It's the same. You can be able to see it tangibly. So we're not going to have that.
You're going to want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it won't be work. It won't be.
Yeah, it's just going to be
our. Do it begrudgingly. You'll do it because it feels good.
Right. So technically, our mitzvahs in a way are going to be a little less valuable that way, because when you have more, when you put more value to something that you work for, right? When you strive and you struggle and you work at something, you have more value in it, right? It says general about like work, someone that inherits money or someone that works for the money, they appreciate someone that works for it, you appreciate it more, right? Same with mitzvot. When Mashiach comes, if we're not working for it, it's going to have slightly less value. There's not going to be that same merit because we didn't have that struggle. I'm saying there's also not going to be the liability against it because we're not even going to want to do the wrong thing, right? We're only going to want to do the right thing. But there's going to be definitely less merit in it because we don't have the same struggle. So what does that mean nowadays? That today in exile and Galus, now is our time to invest in doing mitzvot, right? Because we get the stronger merit, we get that extra boost, I guess, from doing it because we have these struggles, because it's not the easiest thing for us to do. We get more of a merit from doing every mitzvah that we do because it's not easy, right? So it's our time of investment.
So it will be a little bit like angels.
We'll be like angels in the spiritual sense of that we're gonna basically see revealed godliness. But it's gonna be, I guess, kind of angels in a physical body. That's what it would be like.
Angels who need to eat.
Yeah.
And love.
Yeah. I assume so. Hopefully when Mashiach comes, we'll figure this all out. I'm happy for it to happen right now, and then we'll have all the answers. Be great. Yeah. Right. So Gullus is the time investing in our future Mashiach, and doing actual things. So in text 10, Phil, are you still with us?
Yes,
Text 10.
yes. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, "What is the meaning of the verse? And you shall keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments that I command you today to do them." This means today is the time to do them in this world, and tomorrow is not the time to do them, as there is no obligation or opportunity to fulfill mitzvot in the world to come. Furthermore, it means today is the time to do them, but only tomorrow, in the ultimate future, is the time to receive reward for doing them.
Right. So we all work hard. Our parents work hard. Our grandparents worked hard to make the world a better place for us today, right? To invest money to make the world a better place for their children. We try to keep our planet, and like nowadays very popular, right? Recycling, right? We're trying to make a better world for all of our descendants, to make a better world for them. Same thing is with mitzvot, where in the spiritual sense, right? In what's our time? What are we supposed to be spending our time in Gullus and exile to do now? Is to be investing and working on making that better future, because whatever we do here is only going to make it better when Mashiach comes. We're going to be able to even have that better spiritual sense, because we're going to see all the mitzvot that we do and that we did. We're going to see all that spiritual energy. So we just want to keep adding in that spiritual energy for us and for everyone else, making it a better planet. Better place for all of us. From another perspective, we have it even in a deeper way. So when Mashiach comes, what's going to be our instinct when looking back on exile? We think it's like, great, we're done, right? I'm done with this. We didn't like it. We're done, right? Like that would be our natural instinct, right? We're looking forward to something, and when you get the thing you look forward to, you're just like, okay, I'm not interested in whatever I did. I don't want that anymore. I don't want the struggle. So the previous Chabad, the Friedrich Rebbe, who's quoting his father, says not necessarily. That's in text number 11.
When Mashiach comes, may it be speedily in our time, amen. Then we shall really long for the days of the exile. Then we will truly feel distress at our having neglected working at our spiritual service. Then we will indeed feel the deep pain caused by our lack of spiritual service. These days of exile are the days of spiritual service to prepare ourselves for the coming of the Mashiach. May it be speedily in our time. Amen.
And so for sure, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be a time of unparalleled joy. It's going to be spiritually and generally just a joyous time. We're still going to miss when we were able to just add in the spirituality of the world through working for our actions and through working for it. We're gonna miss that time where we were able to do through our challenges, build up the spiritual energy. When that's not going to have that when Mashiach comes. We're not going to have the same. Not going to get the same
Sense
thing.
of accomplishment.
Yeah, we're not going to have that anymore when Mashiach comes, because we didn't have that. We didn't have that struggle. So how do we motivate ourselves nowadays to do it? To work through our struggles. We're saying Mashiach can come right now. Mashiach can come tomorrow. Now is our only time to be investing and working and making this world this great, amazing place. Right? We have to do it now, because God willing, Mashiach's coming right now. So we got to take advantage of our every moment in order to be able to do it. As the Rebbe explains on text 12. Yeah.
My revered father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, said that when Mashiach comes, we will grab our heads and shout Gaval. We could have accomplished so much more in Galut, and we missed our chance. Therefore, even though now we don't perceive the full value of our actions, the very knowledge that a time will come when we will regret our inaction should spur us on to act. We must add to our study of Torah and observance of mitzvot in a manner exponentially greater than what we are doing until now. We must not suffice by adding only a little bit or even a proportionally great number, for the time will come when it will be too late to add even one iota. Rather, we must increase in an infinite manner, meaning in a manner of self-sacrifice that stems from the very essence of our soul.
Right. Time is now. Gotta work on it now to make that world that better place. Now going back to where we started from, talking about the temples and the Mishkan, right? Since the very beginning of time, since the beginning, we've been investing in our future. Everything we've been doing since creation has been towards this ultimate goal of Mashiach and having this great utopia, great spiritual world, right? So the base of Mikdash is a great example. Is a great example of this. The Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the two temples, all that blood, sweat, and tears, right? All that money that went into it. It was all an investment to make the world into this perfect, to make this world into a better place and bring more and more light into the world. Right? The light of the temples, it said, spread out everywhere. Actually, that's how the windows of the temple were built. Generally, in times before electricity, they generally build windows where it had a narrow opening and a wide, narrow. It was narrow on the outside and wide on the inside, so the light would spread. Versus in the temple, it was built the opposite because it was meant that the light of the temple should spread it to the whole world. Right? It's famous teaching. So right, and so that was the light of the temple spread out everywhere, and started making that world, preparing that world for the spiritual state, for the spiritual stage of Mashiach. But how do we know that this is actually what the temples were built for? Right? Because when King Solomon, King Shlomo built the first temple, he knew that it wasn't going to last forever. And we know this because it says in text number 13.
When Solomon built the temple, he was aware that it would ultimately be destroyed. Therefore, he constructed a chamber in which the ark could be entombed below the temple building in deep maze-like vaults. King Josiah commanded that the ark be entombed in the chamber built by Solomon, as the verse states, and he said to the Levites, who would teach wisdom to all of Israel, place the holy ark in the chamber built by Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. You will no longer carry it on your shoulders. Now serve God.
Right. So when Shlomo Melech built the temples, he knew it was going to be destroyed. Technically, you would think that'd be a terrible investment then, right? Mm-hmm. You build something and you know it's not going to last forever. You know it's not going to last. You may still build it, but you don't generally put as much into it, right? Even though he knew that it was going to be destroyed at some point, he still put tons of money and everything into building this beautiful temple, because he knew that this is an investment for the future, right? The whole temple is spreading out godliness everywhere, which is an investment where we're going to be able to reach that when Mashiach comes, because it's bringing that spirituality into everywhere in the world. And through the ark, actually, through building it there, he made the temple side holy, right? He kept, and the ark is actually, our tradition is that it's still there somewhere in the tunnels, somewhere underneath. And that kept the Temple Mount is still that holy place. And then when the second base of Mikdash was built there, that holiness state was still there, right? It didn't leave. And it's still actually a holy place. Actually, many opinions were we're not supposed to go onto the Temple Mount. Definitely not onto where the temple actually stood on the Temple Mount. Agitates just as a metal, as Indians. Well, yes, that too. They don't appreciate. People do go up there, but there's many opinions that we shouldn't go up there, because we're supposed to be in a level of purity when we're up there, and we can't get to that level of purity nowadays.
And the government will see if someone's praying there. It will be reported. Their guards, and they will see, and they will escort the person down from the mount. That's what I heard. That's terrible.
It's terrible. That's true. Actually, there's tours leaving every day. Like whenever I've been to Israel twice in the last couple of years. Whenever you go to by the Western Wall, by the Kotel, every hour you have these people calling, anyone want to go to Temple Mount? There's tour leaving now. Because they're allowed to walk up there. Your Israelis will let you walk up there if you want. You just can't pray. But again, there are opinions that we're not supposed to even go up there. Even on those tours, we shouldn't, because it still has this high level of spirituality, because the ark is still there, and because the temples were there, and that level of spirituality brought into the world is still there today, that we shouldn't actually go into the Temple Mount. Whether you want to go or not, speak to your local rabbi.
Why shouldn't we go?
Because again, you're supposed to be on a certain level of purity when we went up there. So it meant that we can't
Oh.
be impure from someone that is passed.
Oh.
And since nowadays we don't, there may have been a body buried somewhere where we may have walked even after maybe we went to mikvah, we did it all right, but maybe there's a body that we walked over on the way. We shouldn't go up there. And for certain impurities, you need the red heifer to be able to purify you. So there are opinions that we shouldn't go up there. There are also opinions that you do go up there, as there are people that go up there. There are Orthodox Jews that go up there too. So just as general in Judaism, there's two opinions on the matter.
Have you ever been?
I've never been up there.
Just two?
What body decided where the Muslim would own, be a quarter of the city, and
just
Jewish.
I think it just it's not actually a quarter. It's not actually a quarter. It's quarter in the sense that that's their area, not that it's actually. I think it just ended up that way.
No, I think it was designated by England, by the British.
It was before. It was pre
They
that. The
divided
Armenians
Jerusalem.
have been there for hundreds of years. The Muslim, but that's generally where people were in the city. I think even prior, even they officially gave it the names. Yeah. Okay.
And divided the Jerusalem, the old city.
Yeah, but I think I'm saying prior to that, even prior to, I think generally the Jews lived in the old quarter, the old Jewish old quarter. That's where all the shuls were, the synagogues were in that general area. Some of them were hundreds of years old. Saying that's where the area that they lived in. That's probably where
they did
the split ended up being that way, because that's where they all lived. The Armenians lived in their area. Yeah, where we lost it for about 20 under 20 years, a little under 20 years.
48, 58. Yeah.
It's 18 years.
Yeah, I think 18.
And during that time, they decided to destroy every single synagogue except for one. Actually, the only one they didn't destroy was the old Chabad.
Yeah, the old Chabad shul. Yeah. We didn't get to go in that. For this tour, there's so much that I would have liked to have done.
It's not the most
beautiful.
No, it's a shul. I'm saying it's not like you're not like you don't feel like when you're walking in, you're walking to some grand old structure. It's a few hundred years old, like every single building you're walking by in the old city, and it's a shul there. It's a Tzemach shul, but it's the oldest lasting shul that's in the old city. Yeah.
We were there for Shavuot.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
unbelievable.
a nice shul. I mean, it's not like
very nice. But you're right. It's very unassuming.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That might be why you didn't go there on a tour.
Not like the charming shul in Tzfat.
So Tzfat has a lot of very. They're also older. The ones in Tzfat are older than some shul. That one's like 200 something years old. The ones in Tzfat are 100, or like 300-400. And there's some. They have ones where the Arizal was, which is
Arizal.
And the Yeruos of Cairo. Those are 500 or 600 years old. So, yeah. What were you saying? You had said something before. Sorry. So basically that was Solomon's king. He made a permanent investment to get this to have the spirituality go out from everywhere. That's why he put so much into it, because he knew that it's going to be a permanent thing and it's going to be an investment for the future. And we're going to go. So we're going to go to text 15. Let's skip 14. That's who we have to. I think Phil. Back to you, Phil. Text 15.
The warning to keep Shabbat comes immediately before the discussion of the details of the building of the Mishkan, to indicate that the building of the Mishkan does not supersede the observance of Shabbat.
All right, going back to the beginning, where it started, the first thing we read was Moshe talking about Shabbat and then going into the Mishkan. So what's the connection? Because we can't build the Mishkan. Shabbat is actually where we learn all the laws of Shabbat from. It's from the work that they did in the Mishkan. So any of the works they did in the Mishkan were forbidden to do on Shabbat. So those are 39 general categories where it comes down into many, many more laws than that. But similar, like fire, where they used fire to build certain things, or they They were selling things. All those laws come from, that's how they built the Mishkan, right? 39 laws. So then the general instruction about Shabbat was very relevant, because he was telling them they can only build during the week, right? That's on Shabbat you stop, even for this holy site for God, right? You would think maybe that supersedes Shabbat. Moshe's telling them no, Shabbat comes first, regardless, and we can't even build the tabernacle, the Mishkan on Shabbat. But of course, there's a more deeper spiritual message here too, that the Talmud says that there's there's going to be 7 millennia basically, and we're currently in the 5th one, and when the 6th millennia comes, Mashiach's for sure going to come. We are hoping Mashiach will come before then, because Mashiach come before them at any time. But it says when the year 6000, the Jewish calendar hits, Mashiach has to come by then, which is about 200 and something years. Mashiach will have to come at that point.
Why would that be?
That's what it says in the Talmud. God basically gave us a promise that we have
Literally a year, a particular year.
It says in the year 6000. It's at about 216 years. I want it to come today, so I don't have to worry about that one. But yeah,
We won't be here.
Is it in the Torah?
the Talmud.
But I mean, I'm asking, is it somewhere? Talmud,
The Talmud,
Comments
well,
on
everything
the
the
Torah.
Talmud's based off from somewhere in the Torah. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly where that comes from, but the sages weren't just. They weren't just.
The oral.
Yeah, it was
I
definitely.
never-
Does the Torah really say?
The
that
5 books of
there is
Moses
an
are the
afterlife?
oral.
I don't think that's really mentioned.
I think it's either it's in the prophets, or it's from the Talmud also. But again, the Torah is split up, where now I'm saying we have the written Torah, and you have the oral law. You can't understand one without the other. They were given at the exact same time. Moshe got the entire oral Torah, was told to him by God on Sinai at the same time. It was given over orally, taught from teacher to student, going all the way to today. But it was written down only, which is the Mishnah, which was written down by Rabbi Yehuda, the prince, Rabbi Yehuda, the Nasi, close to the end of the Second Temple period, because it was getting forgotten. Right, that's when it started being written down, and that's where the Mishnah and the Talmud all comes from that oral tradition. So even if it wasn't explicitly written in the Torah, it's still from that oral tradition, where many times they're going to say it's halach Moshe Sinai. It was the law from Moses on Sinai. Right, that's the tradition they got from their teachers, who got it all the way back. Or we actually have in Pirkei Avot, it tells you like the generations of who got from what, like which teacher taught the next one, and who was the leader of the generation that was teaching, going all the way down. That's the first couple Mishnahs in Pirkei Avot, right? That tell us that.
Oh, it tells the history.
It tells us
passing
the
on oral
Zuko, like
Torah.
who Moshe Kilo Torah Sinai. Moshe got the Torah Sinai, and he gave it to Joshua, who gave it to the elders, who gave it over, etc. So going all the way to.
Would King David have gotten it?
I don't know King David's name, but he would have been taught it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But who was the spiritual leader of that generation? Was the person that it mentioned there. But they all had schools. They had yeshiva back, I guess, sort of in those days too, where they would teach it over, and then they would teach it out to everybody. Like basically, so they kept going. But at some point, it started getting a little broken telephone. So that's where they wrote it down. Right. So
these 7 levels came from the Talmud.
Yeah, this thing of where there's 6 millennia, where the 6 millennia Mashiach has to come, and then the 7th millennia that's from the 6th to the 7th, which is the 7th. Basically going into the 7th millennia, right? Because it's after the year 6000. That's so we're saying that what's the connection to Shabbat, where we have 6 days of the week where we sit, where we sit and work, right? Where we've been working for Mashiach. And the 7th millennium, when Mashiach comes, that's going to be like Shabbat, where we enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? Where we enjoy everything that we just worked for the whole week. That's Shabbat, right? That's going to be says Yom Shekula Shabbos, right? The day that's it's going to be all Shabbat. It's going to be basically just a spiritual time. This it's being the 7th millennia connected to Shabbat. So in text 16. So
Okay, may the merciful one let us inherit the day that will be all Shabbat and rest for life ever after.
right, we want that day. That's going to be that day, that time period of Shabbat, which will last forever, which is the time of Mashiach. Right. So on Shabbat we can't do any work. Right. We're not supposed to do work. We're not supposed to do any labor. We can't cook. We can't build anything. So we have to do that the whole week. We're supposed to be preparing the whole week for Shabbat in order to be able to enjoy Shabbat. Right. Because if we don't cook before Shabbat, if the Kiddush isn't made in Shul before Shabbat, then everyone that comes around Shabbat is going to look around, and there might be a couple crackers that we found in the kitchen, and everyone will be disappointed. But we can't make the chalent on Shabbat, right? We can't make the fish on Shabbat. So you have to be working the whole week in order to be able to have the pleasure of Shabbos, of relaxing and studying and praying, and having that more spiritual time by working through the whole week. So say nowadays where we're working and toiling in the world and making this world a more spiritual place, and working towards that time where we're going to have that eternal, I guess more the eternal spirituality of the time of Mashiach, which is, I guess, Shabbat. And we're getting closer to that time, right? As practically speaking, it says again that Mashiach has to come by the year 6000, and we want it to come today, right? So as we're getting closer and closer to that time, we're in the Friday zone. We're in that sixth. We're already getting in that sixth millennia time, right? We're almost at that point. So we have to be working more and more to be bringing that Shabbat, that time closer, because we're running out of time for it to happen. And even though it says that Jews are full of mitzvot like a rimon, right, like a pomegranate, one of the reasons why pomegranate's a Jewish thing, it says every Jew is full of mitzvot, because many things are mitzvot: being kind to someone else, having ahavas Yisrael, love of your fellow, giving charity, which you may do like on a small, minute level, something like a daily, like just helping someone with something. Those are all mitzvot. And of course, when we even try to do mitzvot, right? When we pray, when we put on tefillin, when we light Shabbat candles, and all those things, teaching a class, listening to me teach a class, right? All those things, those are mitzvot, and every Jew is full of that. But still, we still have to be trying to get even more mitzvot and bringing more spirituality into the world, and doing another act of kindness intentionally, and going out of our way to do all these things, and taking every opportunity to do it in order to make the world this more spiritual place, and preparing the world and investing for the time of Mashiach, so we could have that time of Shabbat in the best way possible. And that is our mission in life. Go and do it. And that is all for this week. L'chaim, we should have Mashiach now, and do all the mitzvot that'll make it the best time possible.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Excellent class. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good
Night.
night.